welcome to the House of ZK Radio, which is a focused podcast and media channel exploring everything ZK, zero knowledge. Really focus this discussion on Metis' new direction towards AI. Previously, Metis has really been focused towards the vision on scaling Ethereum. But now, from what I hear, Metis is trying to build the next home for AI. And with the new Regenesis pivot, you guys are making a lot of strides towards that. So I wanted to first ask you, what was the intention behind this new pivot?
Thanks, Alex. It's great being here. It's good to meet everyone, and thanks for attending the event. My name is Tom Ngo, CEO at Metis. And in today's discussion, why the change in direction or pivot for Metis? I think with blockchain, it's constantly evolving, and with evolution, with the space to be relevant, we have to evolve. Blockchain was built with a legacy design in mind, from supporting NFTs, DeFi, but it's evolved into tokenization, RWA, and AI is the hot sector. And with the alignment of data and how data is managed, how you verify data, we see the alignment with blockchain closer than ever. We see the convergence of how blockchain can definitely help AI in a way to verify their data. You see a lot of information about fake news, right? That really came up in the recent years. Then we start questioning what's true, what's not true. And with blockchain, it's built to verify, and everything's on chain. So you can prove that things are transparent and as they should be. And to really evolve and be grown with the next sector of technology, I think blockchain has to adapt to AI. And Metis was created to provide solution for the industry utilizing blockchain. And right now, the evolution is in AI. I think traditional finance has evolved. We're getting a lot of traditional companies and institutions that are really diving in and investing into the blockchain space. But we're just at the tips of the AI sector. And I think this is where blockchain really can highlight its value for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And just diving into, so you mentioned, for example, addressing the verification piece within AI. I'm wondering what other sorts of challenges that currently exist in AI systems that Metis is also trying to address, say either with data misalignment or siloed data ecosystems, and how that's really playing out to the new kind of infrastructure that you're building.
Yeah, for Metis, we do see the capital market for Ethereum is still one of the largest. And with any ecosystem, any contributing to any kind of ecosystem, there is cost and risk. And developing on Ethereum, I think there's a lot of value. And utilizing blockchain to really enhance the AI sector is where we see it. Like I said, blockchain was built with a legacy in design, but now it requires a lot of speed to really keep up with what AI needs. And not just speed, but also the data layer is extremely important. Imagine, I like to use this example. We think about 3G wireless, and then 5G, and then now we're at LTE. Each plays its own role. With 3G, you have longer wavelength with reach and coverage. That's what the legacy system is, and you see that with Ethereum right now, where there's accessibility. You can interact with Ethereum. There's many dApps. But the specialized chain and the specialized infrastructure that's built specifically, say, for AI, for trading, it's something new, but there is a need. So for us, we see that need, and we're building this Hyperion chain that is actually in testnet pretty soon to really tackle this.
Yeah, nice. And you mentioned, one of the kind of the main considerations is with latency and also with cost. So I'm wondering if there are any other types of challenges that current, say, AI developers face that Metis is really trying to address. And you guys also advocate for this many world kind of model. So I'm wondering if many world decentralized model. I'm wondering if you can maybe talk about some of the advantages that this new model offers compared to, say, our traditional centralized approaches.
Yeah, I think a really great example to really highlight this is, a lot of people interact with the blockchain space for kind of the decentralized finance side. Hey, we want to own our own keys. We want to hold to our own funds. I think this is the same with data as well. I think eventually we don't see the need for it. until it becomes extremely relevant and it really impacts us. Imagine not knowing where the data came from. Imagine, say, the political voting is manipulated with false data, falsification, false information. It doesn't matter until it does matter. And I think right now is a time to really tackle that. And how Metis is really seeing this is our ethos has always been aligned with blockchain of really pushing decentralization, self-sovereignty, and we see that with blockchain as well. Most of the data is in a black box controlled by big entities, and yet we trust it. We trust it blindly. And the scary thing about it is we trust it so much to make our life easier. If we don't utilize it, we're falling behind. Like I use AI to help record meetings, take notes. I'm pretty sure some of you are using AI, but to record your meetings, but I'm also kind of scared of the data and the things I say, because who owns this data? I wish there was like a kill switch where like they can't really record or hold my data on chain because it's in your email. You pull it up, you send it to other emails. So where does that data sit? And eventually, if you don't know who controls it, basically large entities basically know everything about your life, your business, proprietary discussion as well. So there's no really, where is privacy? So I think that's one key thing that's extremely important. And that's what Metis is building, a decentralized model. We went with a decentralized sequencer, but now that we see AI is such a big push, we're putting, I wouldn't say all our eggs in the same basket, but we're putting a lot of resources in this sector.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate you mentioning that, there's kind of a caveat towards all of this where we don't really want to have to transfer all of our trust to another system, like with another model. As you say, privacy is a really big concern. And hopefully with the use of ZK in this, we can help address that aspect as well. And I also wanted to speak a bit about the intention behind your guys' incubation of LZ AI. And I wanted to ask you, why first start with the data layer? And in solving this data misalignment problem, how does this kind of ease into some of the other core aspects of AI that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, this is a good question and interesting. So I'll try to explain it in a very simple way where it's tangible in our everyday life. So, we love coffee. I'm a coffee connoisseur as well. And you just don't drink coffee from, say, the gas station, right? You want to know where your coffee is sourced, how it's grown, the quality of the source. So you feed coffee beans with bad, fertilizer, bad water, it's not the same quality. Same thing with data. If you don't have the quality first, the foundation, then basically everything is polluted after that. Imagining drinking contaminated water, radioactive water. You drink it, you use it to cook. You feed your child the radioactive water. They grow up and then they are maybe deformed or the DNA has changed. So everything else is contaminated. Data is the same thing. If you're using it for work to validate certain business decisions or direction of your strategy for marketing, but the data is wrong or misleading, then everything falls after that is also corrupted. So at the foundational piece, I think blockchain is not a solution for everything for AI, but I know that for us, we see blockchain data verification is extremely fitting for what we can do for the AI sector.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I also wanted to ask you, because Metis and LZ AI are also co-developing Aleph as well, which is your guys' own AI agent framework. So I'm wondering if you can speak about how Aleph differentiates against those other existing blockchain native AI agent frameworks and why you chose to develop it.
Yeah, so just to go back on the previous question you asked, why LZ AI? I think for Metis, we are an infrastructure provider. We provide the infrastructure, the environment for applications to really build upon a secure, decentralized infrastructure. And with LZ AI, it's a data infrastructure app layer that's built to verify data and to really support the team that's really focused on this. We ourselves at Metis and the Metis Foundation, we can't build all the solution, but we can support the teams that are building. And the team at LZ AI is tackling something extremely important. And I'll share this with my panel keynote later. And innovating with their DAT token, data anchoring token, where they can verify the data, the evolution of the data, the timestamp of how it evolved and who contributed to the data. So it's a new token standard that is evolutionary, as well as the IDAO focus, where we have human aligned centric DAOs that really help govern the data that these models are using. Sometimes you don't know why, who or how the model is created and why. But if you have a governing body with aligned intent from the beginning and it's all traceable on chain, then you know and you can trust the source and what this model was built for. And with Aleph, our AI agent framework, it's not an agent to replace all other agents. It's an agent to unify all agents that are currently on the blockchain. It's an agent that can read, and you can read and write, and you can program in with multiple language from Python to Rust. So it's an agent that we see that will connect directly to LZ AI to help this data verification layer.
Mm-hmm. And I really like that flexibility portion that you mentioned with Aleph as well, at least on the programming languages side, how there's multiple different languages that developers can use. So really helping with the developer experience there as well. And how you mentioned that Aleph is not acting as a replacer to these other frameworks, but instead as a unifier. So really like that approach. And then I also wanted to ask about, in terms of adoption and use cases, one of the sectors that Metis and LZ AI are really focused on is within the DeFi and AI. So I'm wondering why you believe that this particular sector serves as the first proving ground for all of this, and if there are any other kinds of verticals that you see may have big potential in the future, or say it may take some while for us to get there, but we'll have a lot of implications.
Yeah, I think DeFi or DeFi, however you want to pronounce it, is the lowest hanging fruit for the blockchain because currently it's easily measurable. You can also understand it can operate 24/7, and it aligns with what blockchain and what the main audience in blockchain are doing. They're really, I would say, trading, speculating, and yield farming. These are, hands down the core use of what blockchain is still used for: peer-to-peer asset transfer. So with the AI side, with the AI agents really tackling this shows use case. And even with some of the agents out there, you're seeing it put in use already. If you say, hey, let's do blockchain AI to manage somebody's healthcare program, I think that's still far along, but eventually it will evolve that way. I think there's a lot of teams that have been building a decentralized AI DID for pets, right? And monitoring their health. I think they're tackling that because it's less regulated, but they can set the framework for what we can do for healthcare. But that's a bigger challenge with healthcare. And I think that's one of the key things, all this data, all this testing, all this is isolated with certain few that controls it. But if you have this database that can be accessible from other parties, from other parts of the world to really advance their own research, imagine the evolutionary kind of steps that we will achieve in the different sectors from finance to research. I think research is a big sector, especially the DeFi side.
Yeah, then that's really exciting because a lot of these projects, we're really optimizing for the financial side with DeFi, but on the science and research side as well, it's exciting to see that there's some applications there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think healthcare is one of the biggest capital markets and business as well, but it's tightly controlled by big corporation as well. So, but this is a whole different topic. But I think, healthcare, there's a lot of, I would say, misinformation, as you can see with COVID as well. Imagine if you can validate all the research, all the testing, and all the results. I don't think it would have been as big of an epidemic as it was. And then we would probably know the truth before, instead of what happened here recently.
Definitely. And I also wanted to ask you some more about some Metis-specific developments that have been happening recently. First with Hyperion. So I'm curious to hear about the intention that Metis had in designing its own AI native execution layer, and what makes Hyperion really enable for an AI optimized rollup.
Yeah, like we touched upon this earlier, where the legacy blockchain system, it's a lot more challenging to keep evolving and making a legacy infrastructure work with something that's high speed. You don't play your N64 with a high-speed GPU, external GPU. You don't play your Intel 3 processor with a RTX 5090. Same thing with what we're doing with Hyperion. Right now, there is a demand with AI and the demand for the data that's being used on chain. So instead of expanding on Andromeda of our own network, it's a lot easier where we can build a bespoke chain, an instant L2 that's high speed, high throughput with high data availability to support AI. Why trail behind when you can leap forward and be in line with what AI needs? So that's our vision of why we're building Hyperion, and we have this dual chain approach that Metis is uniquely built.
Nice. And I wanted to also dive more into that dual network approach that Andromeda and Hyperion are building towards. So I'm wondering, in enabling this kind of dual model approach, what sort of advantages are made to developers that, say, aren't possible in just using one model over the other?
I think one of the key advantages is now having an environment where you could build the app that you need. A lot of challenges is developers say, hey, your chain is not fast enough, your gas fees are too high, and with the Hyperion chain, we can optimize and build this where it really facilitate and create an environment for these developers, where there's consistent gas fees, extremely low with extremely fast speed. These are things that developers are asking for. Beyond that, we do see a need to build a unified toolkit for developers to really build and not have to go through and find different tools to build on our chain. Our tool sets are built to and designed to help people and developers build on Hyperion. We'll have the full tech stack ready. Our SDK is open and open source where anybody can build, expand on it, dive into it now.
Yeah, nice. And then you mentioned that there's some advantages in terms of, say, like unifying that toolkit stack. But I'm wondering if there are any sort of caveats or trade-offs that may be involved with trying to integrate into the single performance model. And I also wanted to ask, Metis really supports dApps, say, that are trying to move from Andromeda to Hyperion. So wondering how you guys also help support that migration path.
Yeah, I think this is something that we're also kind of navigating. You know, we're theorizing on what projects need, but when you build another chain, you do have the challenge of liquidity fragmentation. But we're solving that with a unified bridge and unified applications that work seamlessly together. Also, now developers have to decide: do we build on this chain or Andromeda, or do we build on Hyperion? This is the same question they're asking themselves: should they build on OP, Arbitrum, or Metis? It's the same kind of challenge, but we do see an interoperable future. Hyperion will have a unified liquidity layer through ZKM technology and other means to help facilitate this. We'll have account abstraction built into the tech stack to really help facilitate and bring users and reduce the friction and create that chain abstraction feel. But in terms of developer side, I think this is something we're still navigating. We'll have different hackathons and different ways to support developers. But as we hear the challenges, we'll evolve with the community to help them move or migrate to the Hyperion chain.
Nice. And I also wanted to ask a bit more about maybe some of the different offerings that you have for developers. So in addition to the toolkits that are available with Hyperion, I know that Metis also has the Metis VM and the new Metis SDK that's being developed. Are there any other sorts of toolkits, frameworks that developers can use?
Yeah, we have our Metis VM, which is parallel processing, state-aware caching, and nanosecond state access to memory through Merkle tree. So these are the advantages that we have as well to really optimize. If you think about, it's not all about speed. You think there's also limitation on your RAM and your computer, right? Same thing. That's what we're doing with our data layer, creating the expansive RAM for the blockchain and AI. Everybody's talking about speed, but nobody's talking about the data side. And that's one thing that's unique that we're building together in the tech stack, so it can seamlessly work together. One of the challenges that we always hear is the compatibility of developers. Hey, I launched on this chain, your EVM compatible, but I'm having issues. There's always issues. But for us, anybody that wants to launch their own L2, L3 with the Metis SDK, they can be assured that we have the full tech stack from indexing to Metis VM to really help support them and build out their network.
And also just on the topic for the Metis VM, I know that there's some different features that you guys have with the interface engines, some dynamic opcodes, some really specialized operations just on the Metis VM. So I'm wondering, how does the Metis VM approach, say, or its offerings kind of differ from the EVM? And maybe you can talk a bit about some of the limitations for, say, trying to optimize kind of AI-specific applications on the EVM that developers can now use using the Metis VM.
Yeah, I think this question also kind of touched on how I answered earlier. I think with the Metis VM, there's parallel processing. Instead of single sequencing and transaction, there's parallel processing, which is higher speed. We have 1 to 2 gigagas per second for transaction. What that translates to, 10,000 to 20,000 transactions per second. That's Solana speed. And that's just the beginning. It's not, as we develop, as more people contribute, we might optimize to be a lot faster. So this is just the beginning in testnet, and there's more upside to it. In terms of kind of the data layer and indexing, those are the unique components that really make Metis VM different from, your standard EVM.
I see. And I also wanted to ask you a bit about kind of the open source development that Metis has really been advocating for, and a lot of projects actually in the space are advocating for. So I wanted to hear kind of your views on, its importance. And I know that you mentioned that there's going to be a lot of developer-focused initiatives that will be happening, going to be developing within the Metis ecosystem, but wanted to hear kind of your thoughts on just how the role that open source, development from the Metis developers has in terms of Metis' long-term roadmap.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting question from a general perspective of open source or not open source. Some of the biggest, most well-known project in the space is open source, from, I believe, Ledger, even Gnosis Safe. Open source is I think it's great. It invites developers, and this whole industry is built on open source. Metis was built on an open source code, and we have evolved. So we do want to challenge, we do want to, I would say, inspire the industry to really take our code and evolve it, because we want to see the talent, and we want to maybe implement some of these changes in our own tech stack as well, and our chain. So from an open source perspective, I think this question is more on the industry perspective, like, hey, should your code be open source? Absolutely. It holds us accountable. It also makes the code more resilient with testing, with more developers contributing, and more eyes on and hands on the code.
Yes, sounds great. And I just as a last question before we close today's session, wondering for any kinds of developers or builders in the audience, what they can expect in the next coming months, or if you have any announcements that you'd like to make.
Yeah, we're super excited. We'll be focusing on supporting developers in the AI sector, anything and everything. We'll have different tracks. We'll work with different accelerators to support these developers, not just from a financial perspective or grant perspective, but we want to provide all the needs that a developer may need, from guidance to business strategies. Our team is a veteran in the space that have been around for well over 3 years and seen many cycles. So we understand the challenges of what developer needs beyond just capital. You can have all the capital, but not have the right business mindset, and you may not go anywhere. I'm pretty sure you've seen projects that are well funded, but had kind of fizzled away. You don't know where they're at, backed by big names, which is pretty scary. Then you have really lean teams that are well organized, well structured, that are really just nailing it and really pushing this industry forward. So, we're excited to really support these developers. We have a testnet coming up soon. So be part of Hyperion. We want to support you and trust in us to support you guys.
Yeah, nice. So lots of new developments coming in the next few months. Very exciting. But yeah, thank you so much, Tom, for this interview, and really enjoyed hearing especially how developer-centric your guys' approach is with putting developers first and their needs first. So yeah, really, really great to hear all of this. And thank you so much, Tom.
Thanks, Alice. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much.